Welcome to A Bit of Board Games, a casual podcast documenting the many failures and hopefully successes of Waffle Games, as we learn the ins and outs of board game design and self-publishing. Join us on this journey as we talk about a bit of life, a bit of design, and a bit of board games. Welcome back to another episode of A Bit of Board Games. I'm your host, Steven, and with me today is Ralph. And not Trevor, because he's doing something else. I don't know, like fantasy football something. He's just, those sports game deals. Who knows?
Is the season.
Oh, man.
Are you subscribed?
What? Huh?
Are you subbed?
To what?
To his channel.
Oh, yeah. Trevor has a fantasy football channel. What was it called? He started a YouTube channel if you're into fantasy football.
I know it's like 3 letters.
I know. I made the logo. I made the logo
right?
for him. It's like fantasy football with Trevor. Fantasy football tips. Fantasy football tips with Trevor.
Oh, that's what it is. Yeah.
I don't remember the URL. If I find it, I'll put it in the show notes under the episode. Anyway, this is episode 69, and today is August 15th, 2023.
I'll keep my funny comments to myself.
You do. As soon as I said that, you just smile. I'm like, Ralph.
Immediately what you think of. Oh,
wow. Anyway, speaking of 'tis the season, I think it's 18 Mondays until Christmas. 18 more Mondays.
Okay. Yeah.
Start that Christmas countdown. Here we go. No, it was like...
Wait, how many Monday? Wait, how many did you say?
18 or something?
That feels like too few. That feels like...
I mean, it's like 18
wow, not
weeks.
that long from now.
I mean, it's halfway through August already.
Away, yeah, I know.
How many Mondays? 18 Mondays. I was right. I don't know. Again, I don't know why I'm going with Mondays, not just how many days. Oh, I have to sneeze.
Maybe there's a calendar reason.
Yeah, 132 days. That feels like way too many. I can't start counting down until it's in double digits. So
yeah,
but that means one more month, and I can start counting down till Christmas.
Do you have an advent calendar?
Yeah. That's
something you should have as a Christmas fanatic. I feel like
we actually have this old one that like I had as a kid. That like we used as a kid. My mom gave it to us to like start using with our kids. It's got these like little flannel those little like felt things that like stick on the felt board deal. Anyway, we have that. So actually I made one 3 years ago now, where like it's really cool actually. So I designed this like advent calendar that has 25 days, so like you start at first day of December, and it's wood, and I cut it out in the shape of a pine tree, like a Christmas tree, and then I tacked nails in it, and then got a bunch of these little wooden discs, and like drilled a hole through each one, and then my mom actually hand painted each one with a different like little image on it, and then we put numbers on the back, so you like have all the numbers face up, and then each day you flip one, and it's got like, one has like an angel, one has like a wreath. She did one that has like a cat with a little Santa hat on it. That's pretty nice. Fun.
Yeah.
So Cece loves flipping those over at Christmas and stuff. Yeah. She wants to just do all of them at once, but we one at a time. Anyway, it is not time to talk about Christmas.
Christmas will have its time.
Yeah, we'll get there. I'm sure the entire 2 months leading up to Christmas, that'll be all I talk about.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's 85 degrees out during the day here, so does not feel like Christmas.
It's still super hot here.
But today, okay, so I've kind of been starting a new routine. So I work out regularly, but it's been hard to find like a consistent time to do that in my life with kids, and for a while like night was just, we didn't know if we were gonna sleep well or what it was gonna be. So it's like I don't want to get up early if then I'm like waking up throughout the night with my kids. And so today I actually started a new routine, and I'm getting up at 5 every day. I'm going to the gym at 5:30. Come home, help with breakfast with the kids, and then do work. Whereas before it was kind of like random. I do go on my lunch break like during the day, like randomly, and I work out with a friend of mine, and so now we're both just doing 5:30 every day.
Friend is the key, I think, there because
Yeah,
that's how you'll keep doing it because you'll keep each other hopefully accountable. I
yeah,
mean, there's more obligation there if someone else is doing it with you. So
yeah. We've been working out together for like a year now, and so like
yeah.
we're pretty used to like working out, and so now we're just like, okay, this is the new routine. This is what we're doing, and
Hmm.
yeah. But it's kind of nice to
Right.
just like get it done with in the morning. Um, but
Yeah, that's true. I would the one I also work out. I do a little home setup
nice.
myself, but my wife goes to a gym, but I just do. For me, I don't like gyms, so
Mm,
I just do it at home. But it is hard. The consistent timing is the hardest part.
yeah.
Um, it's a struggle some days, and some days it causes me to do a worse workout as a result. So,
Yeah.
but
Today was really nice though. So I work remotely, work from home. You do too. A lot of people do nowadays. But
yeah,
I get really tired of just like, so here, my office. It's great. I love my office space. But uh it's kind of dark, which sometimes is nice. And I don't get much social interaction. So like I try to go to a coffee shop like once or twice a week to work from there. And Colorado Springs has so many coffee shops, dude. Like I literally go to like almost a different one like every week for weeks at a time, like without going. Like sometimes I go to the same one because like I know everyone there and I know the managers and everything. That's how often I go there. Um, but there's like 1979, Hold Fast, Switchback, Meeting, Wild Goose, uh,
yeah,
Wayfinder, Loyal. Um, Switchback has another location, Hillside. Where did I go today? Story Coffee. Um, like
nice.
it's ridiculous. Like, and there's more. Like, there's other ones. Oh, Building 3. That's like 9 I'm at right now. Um,
Wow.
and it's all within like 20 minutes of me. Like every
Remember
single
when
one
we
of
were
those.
talking about saturated markets?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
There's that here. But like Holdfast is my favorite. Like I think they have the best coffee, and they also happen to be the one where like I know the manager and assistant manager, and so and like I get free tasting sometimes because I know the roasters and because like one because I'm there a lot, but I also just kind of am connected to these people outside of that. But anyway, awesome coffee, highly recommend it. Hold Fast Coffee, go there. Um, but it's fun to just like get out. And today I was like sitting out, and I went to Story Coffee today, and they have this big like garage door on their side that opens up, so it's just like chilling at this table that's like a bar height, which I kind of like because then sometimes I'll just stand there and it'll be like a standing desk too. Um, but yeah, just open to the outside, beautiful day. It's a nice place to
Nice.
hang out and work. So
Yeah, yeah. We have a coffee shop very close to us, like right down. Basically, we live on this. Um, if you can imagine, like this road leading up to like a hill, I guess
mm.
is what you would call it, and then there's a community nestled in there.
Oh, cool.
And then surrounded further by like forests and stuff. But then right down from that, there is a coffee shop called Hilltop Coffee, and we're
Oh,
like
cool.
right there. And it's great. It's actually a super nice one. It wasn't around when
Mm.
like you and I were growing
Yeah,
up.
never heard of it.
It's like newer, right? So if you come into town, that would be where we would get coffee,
Okay.
or I guess chocolate mousse, one of those,
Yeah.
whichever.
Have you heard of
But
Starbucks before? I heard that's a local place.
Starbucks. Never, never. I will never go to Starbucks. Um, but yeah. So Hilltop is where I haven't worked a day there though yet. Maybe I will one of these
Yeah, you should
days
do it.
because it would actually be pretty chill to
Yeah,
work from there with their current setup. But yeah, pretty
cool.
pretty cool.
Um, so Ralph, we both have been playing some random small games on Xbox Game Pass.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and we
One
both,
of them we share.
yeah, we both played through a game called A Short Hike, which is like an indie game that came out a while ago, but it recently came to Xbox Game Pass, and we both just played through the entire game. I technically have one achievement left. It's like I have to do something at a specific time, but anyway, pretty much 100%ed it, and it was super fun. It's just this like
Mhm.
small, cozy game, and like it's not doesn't take a long time, but like it has its goal. It has like little hidden things. It's got little objectives to do, places to explore, and uh, it just did what it did so well. And then I just today, literally right before this call, finished another game called Toem, which is also a great game, great atmosphere, a little like short adventure with like quests and hidden things and like secrets, and it was awesome. It's like it's all black and white, but it's like a 3D world with kind of flat graphics on all the surfaces, and like all the characters are kind of like flat, and so like things like flip and
Mhm.
stuff. But the thing in this game is that you have a camera, and so you can take pictures as you go, and so like there's like picture challenges in each region you go to, where it's like, hey, like there's like a little like hint of like what you have to take a picture of, and you have to find that and take that picture. And there's like creatures around to take pictures of, and it was super fun. So my question is, what is it about these kind of games you think that like that makes them so good? Like these like cozy little adventure games like this.
Yeah. Well, yeah, so I also beat a short hike. I have yet to play Toem, although due to Steven's recommendation, I probably will give that a try. I'm in the middle of a game now called Tinykin that is also uh, it's not like as small as something like a short hike, but
Okay.
it's still bite-sized enough. And it really like a short hike is a great example. Really, the what makes them so good, I think, is that they're a really good lesson in making kind of maximizing
Mm,
your the size of your game. So where they could have made like 12 more islands for you
sure.
to explore, you get diminishing returns, I think, after a certain point, especially
Mm,
because of such a small team. I think it might have even just been one guy who made a short hike.
I think you're
Um,
right. Yeah.
I'm not, yeah, like so where in where the bigger the scope is, the less you can actually put into each part of it. So
Hmm.
they kept it. I really think the design process for a short hike, what it felt like to me was to just develop the smallest possible game, but to do the most possible with it. Um, like, because it doesn't feel small while you're playing it. It actually
Yeah.
feels like a fleshed out world. There's different characters that go different places at different times.
Hmm.
They're kind of interconnected. They're kind of talking about one another. You're doing things connected with different mechanics in the games. Everything that you are doing feels meaningful.
Hmm.
And at no point in the game, and Steven and I, we like to 100% our games. So
Yeah.
this is actually saying something. At no point in my playtime was I thinking, well, I don't really know. I mean, I guess what am I going to do next? No, you're always like driven to the
Sure.
next point, kind of naturally. There's always something next to do. And the way it built mechanics, like it gives you one thing at first that you can do, and then it just slowly introduces the rest
Hmm.
of it in such a perfect like gradual climb, and then by before you know it you can do so many different things, and you're always remembering, oh yeah, I was talking to that character
Yeah.
who mentioned this thing that I just found. So I can either keep doing what I'm doing, explore the rest of this area,
Hmm.
or I can take a break from that, travel back, find that character, see what he's up to. There's so many things about it, but I really think it's
Yeah.
about maximizing what's possible and not letting the size of the game get away from you.
Sure. How do you think we could like how could we do this in board game format? Like, it obviously wouldn't translate specifically because if you just had like, here's a, I mean, maybe you could do like a short solo or co-op like adventure type thing that you had like a bunch of different like modules, like episodes in a sense that you could like release out and just go through these like little short like narratives like that. Could I'm just wondering how you could get that same experience of like this like well established worked like world that just has this like cozy like adventure feel with like cool things to do.
Mm, yeah, well, that is a good question. That would be a fun challenge, like,
Yeah,
but that sounds like a different game, right? Like, that would be a
very
different
different.
kind of game than, like, Foundry, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Like found like the difference is like Foundry is like a game where things are different every time, and like you're
yeah.
playing to be better and to beat everyone else, and so it's like it's competitive, but it's also like there's no like there's a backstory to it, but there's no like narrative you're going through. Um, where
Story is a good idea. I wonder, story feels like it would be something you would want to include if you were gonna try
mm,
this
oh
even
yeah,
in board
yeah,
game format.
it almost have to be something. So okay, there are games that are campaign games, like campaign based games, where like you play through either like a chapter, a scenario, whatever, and whatever you do keeps going. And like so like you complete this chapter and you found this new item. So like the next chapter you go into, you have that item still. And like you level up your character. It's like you might play one session tonight and then you complete this mission, get new gear, whatever, and then like next week you can play again, and like you accomplish that again, or like you do like the next scenario and you have your gear, and you're like it's a
Mm.
legacy game in the sense that like you maintain your progression game to game, but like
Oh,
and
yeah.
I've seen that with like huge games. So there's like big dungeon crawl games. There's big like RPG type games that go through this. Um, there are some other narrative games that are essentially like you play through it once and like you get the experience, but it's not going to be something you necessarily play through again. There was one game a while ago that came out called like Time Stories, and it was like a scenario based game, but it was like a narrative, and so you go through and you're like going like through this narrative gameplay, and you'd complete that scenario, and then you move on to the like unlock the next scenario that you like open that box contents like from inside the box or whatever.
Yeah.
So there have been games that have done like there are a lot of games that have done narrative gameplay well. Um, but it's almost always like dungeon crawly narrative combat type games where like the difference with like Toem and a short hike is there's no combat. Like they're
I know.
puzzly like objective games where like
Yes.
there's still interesting things to do and like to find and collect, but
That's kind
could
of
that be
that's the
fun?
thing. That's that is an interesting point. A short hike could be described as things to do, the video game,
Yeah.
and that's it. Because really, there's not, the challenge isn't the hook. I mean, there's a couple moments like I'm thinking the hardest thing in the game maybe it's either the thing where you have to get the boat to the thing in a
Yeah.
certain amount of time,
Yeah.
or it's the thing where you have to hit the ball like 30 times or
Sure.
something.
Like mini game
But
type
that's it.
things.
They're really not hard to do. So the challenge isn't the
Mm.
hook. It's
Yeah.
more the narrative talking. It's like the experience. It's like the journey
Yeah.
of talking, meeting these characters. They're all kind of interesting and have something going on, and you're just doing like stuff, like you're doing things, and then there's a peak of some
Mm.
sort. So like the whatever
Literally
there's a
in a short
yeah.
hike and in Toem actually. Like you go to the top of a
Oh, really?
mountain at the
Tom
end of the
does
game.
something similar?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Sorry.
so
Go ahead.
well, that's really I think, you would the card game, it would be hard because you would want to create a cozy atmosphere. You would want to create engaging things to do,
Yeah.
but it's harder to accomplish that in board game fashion rather than video game because you don't have the same level of interaction with a board game.
Right.
You almost need some kind of numbers system going on with a board game, or you could just have it be event based, like roll die. If you roll this, this happens, and then that can carry
Yeah.
on into the next module or however. But it would be, I mean, that'd be an interesting challenge to tackle in board game format. Um,
We'll have to throw that on our list of things to think through of like game
Something
ideas.
to think through.
It'd almost
Yeah,
be
I
like
mean,
it'd be like you have to have some good puzzle elements, and like that's how you interact with it is like some puzzle problem solving somehow.
yes. And it would be tied, like the puzzle would be tied to something your character is supposed to actually
Yeah.
be doing. Like it wouldn't be an arbitrary puzzle, it'd be an in-universe kind of
Yeah.
thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
Um, but I like the episodic idea where it's like you do something for a little bit and then you put it away and then you do the next thing next time, and certain things that you've done can affect and carry over to the next episode, stuff like that. I think that could be nice because sometimes you're just in the mood not really necessarily for a challenge, even though I mean, and this is like I've been loving this break I've been taking. Basically, to put it one way, I'm waiting for Starfield to come out, and
Yeah.
I'm maybe if on the chance that I end up loving that game and pouring tons of hours into it, I'm just playing little bite-sized stuff for now.
Yeah.
And so these types of games um like Tinykin or a Short Hike, they've been super refreshing to just kind of have a really fun experience that is short and manageable instead of
Yeah.
tackling like a Dark Souls game or
Right.
something.
Yeah. For sure.
So
For sure. Cool. All right. Well, I made a note to put that idea in our list, but um
yeah.
anyway, I made a new friend. Um I made a new friend, Ralph.
Oh
So
yeah.
on Instagram, right, I saw there's another board game creator I follow, Benjamin Talbot creator, and he's been working on his own game, and I saw some other game designer like one of his posts or something,
Mhm.
and his name that game company, the account is Waffle Sandwich Games, and so I like commented something about,
Wow.
started following him, like, hey, like that's I think I just started following him. They followed me back and then commented on like one of our posts. They're like, hey, awesome name, by the way. And then we've been
Yeah.
actually chatting back and forth, and he has a game on Kickstarter right now, um called Rise, Rize, and it's he compared it to like a memory based Uno game or something like that. um I don't want to ruin this. I'm just gonna look it up real quick. But essentially, like, you have and I actually just backed it too. It's like a memory challenge game. So like you have your hand of cards that you're trying to get rid of, like Uno, and there's like cards that are like on the table, but you have your hand, and then you have to lay it down face down. So you have to like order it in a certain way so that you can remember where those cards are, and so then you have to then either match the color or the shape that's on the card on your turn, like it's out there. But you have to remember which card in front of you is that one. So you have to try to play it like from memory. So it's
Oh my gosh, I'd be so bad at this game.
a card
My
shedding
memory is
memory game.
awful.
Well, maybe you need this game to improve it. So,
Train
um,
me up, yeah.
but it looks pretty fun. Like, it's like a game that you could just play in like an intro game to your game night, or like a couple of rounds of it and stuff.
Yeah.
Be a pretty quick game. Like Uno, but a little bit different twist on that.
Yeah.
So anyway, it looks good. Like the artwork is like the design looks
Oh,
really clean and everything too. So you guys should check that out. It's on. Let's see, this podcast will be out on Friday. Yeah, the Kickstarter will still be live, and they are just about to their funding goal. Super close.
they really are, yeah. They're almost there.
So I talked to them too, and once the Kickstarter's over, they're actually going to come on the podcast and talk about
Really?
Yeah, I was like, hey, do you want to be on our podcast and talk about your experience doing like Kickstarter and distribution and all that? So, um,
Very cool.
since it's something we haven't really done, I'm like, hey, let's just they've been cool to chat with through Instagram, and
Uh,
let's just talk to someone who's done it. So
yeah, wow. Nice. A genuine guest
I
appearance.
right,
All
someone
right.
who's made a game. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
No one on this
Yeah.
podcast has made a game yet. So, um, anyway,
Shout
but
out to
waffle
crap, what are they
sandwich
called?
games.
Waffle sandwich games, yes.
The funny thing is, I don't know their name. I just know the game company name. We've been like chatting. I should be like,
Hey,
what's your
Mr. Waffle Sandwich?
excuse me, waffle sandwich man, or woman. I don't know if they're a man or woman either. So, um, anyway, that's that. That was a fun thing.
Very
Other
cool.
news I have. I I know we were gonna talk about some art stuff, which we'll still finish with that. But I want to
Oh,
hit this real quick. Um, I signed up for a board game convention. I registered for a board game convention in Denver, which is like an hour north of me, and it's called Tacticon, and it's hosted by Gamer Girl Games. I think is the the people who are putting it on or something.
nice.
And it is the August 24th to the 27th. I just got like a day pass just for August 26th, the Saturday, and I just got the confirmation email today for two events that I scheduled. I scheduled two playtest sessions at their like kind of open game area and have slots available for that for people to sign up and playtest our game. So far, no one has signed up because it's been like a matter of hours since I since it like got
Oh,
approved. But we'll see. Hopefully, get some people in
someone
there.
will, yeah, sure.
I'll just sit there
If
with my
not, you'll
game
just
and
have to walk around with the game and
hey,
say,
hey, you guys,
excuse
who
me.
wants to play this game? Play this
Yeah,
game right here.
yeah, yeah.
Um. Anyway, so that's exciting. There are a few things we have to get ready before I can actually bring it there and test, but
I know.
we will. It's a motivator to get it done by then. Um,
Yep.
and then one other thing. Last week we talked about doing a live playtest on Tabletop Simulator. This week,
Today.
that was a thing, but then we said we'll let you know what day it was. I never posted on Instagram because we aren't doing it this week. We're actually doing it next week, probably
Yeah,
Tuesday, August 22nd. Because
yeah, yeah.
Trevor was pretty busy this week. So we'll be doing that next week. So be on the lookout for that. We're still confirming dates with Trevor, but yeah, sometime next week we're gonna be live streaming playtesting on Tabletop Simulator, and it's gonna be awesome.
Nice. Yep. A week from now.
Week from
Although when the
recording,
listeners, yeah, yeah.
yeah, but only a matter of days for you listening. So you guys are living in the future out there,
It's
listeners.
basically like getting an episode early.
Yeah,
You get an early episode basically
and then we'll edit it, and
if
that'll
you
just
tune
be
in
the
live.
episode again. But
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
anyway, Ralph, what have you been doing on with the art? What have you been doing?
So, well, I mean, that kind of ties in because where you're trying to go to the convention, it would be nice to have some artwork, and we we are working on it. It's just difficult.
Yeah,
The thing is,
tell me
it's
about it.
like,
Tell me your woes.
well, I put together a polished version of the work in progress that
Mhm.
maybe some of you have seen. So I basically took that and I polished it up and I
And then I
changed a
tore it
couple things.
apart.
Not entirely, but things do change. That's
Yeah.
the thing. Like, and even me, like I finished it up, polished it up. I got it done, and then I mean, I there were things that I think work really well about it, and there are
Hmm.
things that I was telling Steven straight from the start. I was like, this needs to change. I mean, it's just it doesn't work. I'm not happy with it. So with artwork, it can be harder because
Sure. Yeah.
there's a lot of subjectivity.
Yeah.
There is some objectivity as well, but at the end of the day, the artwork's going to be done when we just finally decide that it's done.
Right. Yeah.
Like when we decide that it's good enough and it's going to serve the purpose of the game, and it's been a process. It's been maybe a longer process than I was anticipating. I mean, I've never done a card design before, so
Sure.
some of this has been just learning how best to kind of lay things out, and then like maybe it makes more sense to do this thing, and then colors. There's with an illustration, you're always worried about colors and color harmonies,
Yeah.
and then there's the whole modular aspect of it and certain moving parts on the card. It's kind of an ambitious sort of card, really. There's
Yeah.
a lot of info on it. We've got a lot of kind of cool ideas going into it, but um, but long story short, where the card is right now is we did the polished version, and then Steven and I talked about it, and we came up with like important edits, like stuff that we would want to address before printing the first like batch.
Yeah.
Um, and so I've been chipping away at those. Um, and if all goes well, we should be able to get those done in time for the play tests and the convention that you're going to.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the plan.
It it it's different. So like what the previous designs that I had that I have like that I've posted the mock-ups in the past of like the card layout, it's different because that was pretty like it showed all the same information, but it wasn't necessarily like thematic. And so trying to create this card now, keeping it's like the same information and the same placement that we had before, but making it a thematic what did we call it, like a thematic like tangible like object
Yeah.
is it's a much
Call it
bigger
like diegetic design, which I
yeah.
don't know if that really.
I don't know if it applies with board games, but it kind of, yeah. So it's like this is a card, but we're also making it feel like that card is part of the world. Like it looks like a cartridge thing
Yes.
that slides into your forge.
It
So
would be like it's supposed to emulate an in-universe item
yeah,
that the
right.
people would use.
And it's not
Um,
just like here's a card with stats on it that has an image of what the item would be. It's like this is the item, and that's like a yeah, that's a much
yeah.
bigger like it's much more ambitious, like you said,
It is an ambitious idea.
but it's
I think
cool.
I think that can help though,
Yeah,
because I think people are going to look at it and be like, "I've really seen that before."
yeah,
Hope that's the hope, right?
right.
I'm not gonna. We're not narcissists. It's entirely possible that
This is
someone
the
has done this
coolest,
concept.
most unique,
That's
most amazing thing you've ever seen in your
right,
life. Um,
right. But the hope is that it's somewhat unique and kind of
oh, for sure, yeah,
draws some attention, and people are like, "Oh, that's a cool idea.
and
I want to try that out."
yeah,
You know,
and comboed with like the forge boards, your player board. Whenever we
yeah,
get those designs too, like they're gonna integrate, and so like that aspect I think is also gonna be super cool. So it's not just like, hey, here's cool cards and then like generic player board, but like it's all gonna feel like they're like these mechanical things that you're like, I'm making this stuff and flipping these things and
yeah,
like
yep.
which that's gonna be a challenge. The art for the forge boards, just because there's
Dude,
so
I'm dreading it.
there's so much. I think we need to work together to just be like, hey, let's have like a session where we just
Yeah,
like literally just like sketch out like, hey, what are these sections gonna be? How is this gonna flow? Like, what is this gonna look like?
yeah.
I think that would be super helpful because then it's not you're not just like let me just come up with something here and like I did a rough concept of it a while ago and I somewhat of that some of that still kind of works but like yeah it's just gonna there's a lot of
Yeah, the challenge now is I think what has changed with the board over time is
mhm,
there's actually less and less space on the board for artwork to even go.
yeah
Where it's going to be this cool double layered effect, which I think is worth keeping.
yeah
It does. We're going to have to make some decisions on, do we go practical, just functional game board that has nice looking colors and it looks good in terms of the UI and what's in there? Or are we trying to do like a big illustration thing? Um,
Yeah. I,
that's going to be the big question.
I feel like we need to do some kind of illustration thing because that's what we're doing with the cards.
Yeah.
So then the
Yeah,
thing is
true.
like, you know, uh, can we remove stuff from the player boards? Like I like all the information that's on there and how it all functions. I think it works really well. Like to play onto that player board. I feel like it has a lot of utilizes the space on there well and has it like the functionality is there. But it's gonna be super hard. Like you said, like we don't have a lot of space for artwork. So like it could almost be like the artwork is there and then all the stuff that we're interacting with is like an overlay, like a UI overlay on top of it. And it's just like
Mm,
it's a board game and so like that's just what it is. And then like where there's not interactive pieces, all the edge work and everything else will be more like full color and not like grayed
yeah.
out overlaid like that. So
Yeah. Well, with any design question, there's always a way.
yeah,
Um, so if our goal is it needs to be illustration
yeah,
and it needs to be double layered, and it needs to somewhat tie in and match, what we've set up with the card.
yeah.
That's not impossible. We can definitely do it. It's just
And the double
uh,
layered is kind of a secondary thing. Um, that's like because that's gonna cost more component wise. So that's like if we can raise enough on Kickstarter to like hit a stretch goal
oh,
of
okay.
that, then that's what we
Gotcha.
would do. So let's think of it as a flat plane, like generally, and then if we do a double layer, it really doesn't change the what we have on the card. It's just like we essentially mark out where the cutouts will be, and then just like whatever is in that cutout will now be the bottom layer, and everything else will stay on the top layer like it already was. So
Okay.
we don't have
Yeah.
to do anything like groundbreaking to change that. So
Sounds good. Yeah, yeah. Well, that actually makes it easier anyways when
cool.
building it.
Yeah,
So,
it's like we think of it. We'll do an illustration with these like overlay pieces in mind, and so like maybe we can incorporate some background elements that like line up with some of the overlay things to kind of like tie in. I think could be cool.
mhm. Yeah.
Um, yeah, we'll have to have like a design sesh at some point, but um,
Yeah, for sure.
which that could be kind of fun. Yeah. So, any other like challenges that you think that you've like been facing with the art side of things, or issues that have come up that like you maybe you didn't expect going into this?
Uh, yes. One of them. Uh, the one thing that I need to do after the card is done, it's like the relationship between the items in the card is actually
Hmm.
an interesting one. Because
Yeah.
there's a few different ways to treat that. Um, like, is it going to be an item in perspective that's like popping out of the card, or is it laying flat on the table? And then, like, how does it stand out? Because really,
Yeah.
the art matches, and that means that the item might not stand out that much. So
Hmm.
you need to do something like extra.
Yeah.
What I've come up with, and this is only in my mind, like I haven't tested this, but what I'm thinking of is there is going to be a multi-layered process step effect
Hmm.
on that is going to apply on top of any item that we place in it. So, um, you're going to place an item, but then you're going to have layers that are specifically going to help blend each item
Hmm.
with the card a certain way. Um, and so that has been something that I know is going to, I've already played with it some, but not with the finished card even. So
Sure.
that's something. Um,
Here's an idea. It's something I dabbled with in one of the earliest versions of the prototype when I did like the high roll, the Helion shield. Hylian shield, whatever, however you say it, from Zelda. And
Yeah.
it was kind of like I did half of the item looked like the finished artwork, and then it faded into like a sketch of like a blueprint sketch of the other part of the item.
I think I saw that. Yeah.
Is that something we would want to explore again to make it feel like a blueprint, or alongside that would the art style almost entirely look like hologram sketch type thing, kind of like more monochrome for each item, or would that be
Oh, like go full magic,
like magic hologram
magic
sketch
hologram.
thing? I don't know, like that
I
that
think
make
I think it would take away from some of the uniqueness of certain
yeah,
weapons.
yeah, I think you're right.
Like people would be like, "Oh, I get another glowy green weapon."
That's true, yeah.
Like
That's true.
even though it might be like super way better than the other item, they still look so similar.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Yeah, that's not
Not
bad.
like a terrible idea. I see what you're saying. I think people are gonna like the
The
items
full,
and
yeah, fully illustrated stuff.
they'll want to see them.
Yeah.
Um,
Which on
but
that, go ahead.
I've got a few tricks up my sleeve. We can
Hey.
that we'll try once we get there. But I do think it's just going to be I'm gonna have like a multi-layered thing that's gonna go over the item and
Okay.
help it tie in a little bit more. Um,
With like different like
but I think
adjustment layers, you mean? To like
yeah, maybe some adjustment layers, some shadow overlays
okay.
and stuff that will be easy to apply. It should blanket apply to any item that we drop in there. Um, and then actual effects that we apply onto the layer
Mm.
itself, like the smart object of the item, we'll have a few effects on that. Um, so I think it'll work out in the end. It's just going to be getting that to work.
Yeah.
And then, as you know, other things we've been running into is like, what font do we use?
Oh my god.
What what about the what about the icon style? Where we're playing around with so many different things.
There's a lot that goes into making games, people. A lot of
Yeah,
like nuanced things. It's
yeah,
a lot to it.
and it feels like we're not making much progress, but we really are
Well, I think
because
we are, yeah.
with this first card, that's where we're tackling so many things.
I
Like
mean,
this card will pave the way for 50 other cards or however many
yeah.
that there are going to be. And we're solving all the idea is that we're trying to solve these problems now. We want to address every
Hmm.
possible issue now so that once we get into creating the rest of the items, it's just plug and play,
Right.
you know?
And on that note too, so a while ago, I switched up the art style for the illustrations. And I was like, all right, this is it. This is what we're doing. However, with the updated card designs, card frames, and everything, and the new styling there, we're actually going to be changing the illustration style again because the old style does not connect with this new card frame. And like we love this new like approach. And Ralph, he came on like as we were already partially like a chunk through the game, and when I had already tried a lot of the art stuff. And so at first it was kind of like, yeah, he'll just like come along with what we're doing. But as art director, he had like a different vision for the card frames, and then it was a way better approach. And so now we're gonna have a new illustration style that like the card frame is part of the illustration style because that's the same general like styling that we're gonna be doing, and we want everything to fit in there. We don't want like his card frame with my old art that are like two different styles, but um,
We
it's
kept some of the essence though. I
the
mean, some of the
yes, yeah,
like the dark outlines, they're
mm-hmm.
staying. The more simplified rendering techniques, some of
Sure,
those are staying the same. Just where we're not getting too like gradient heavy or too texture heavy. It's just like you know, clean looking for
Right.
the most part, right? Um, the items themselves are staying the same, and I did try to make it work. It just didn't
It
look
doesn't
good.
work. Anyway,
um,
so we are we are changing the art style, guys. Which if you didn't already know that based on what we've done with the cards, then you should have just realized that was gonna happen. But it's good, and this for sure. we're
yeah, for
we're not
real.
gonna change it again because
No.
the card is a very concrete thing that, like we said, that's setting the tone for the rest of the aesthetics of the rest of the game. So
Yeah. I really think that what I think we've run into here is this whole game really is like the goal of this game was to do a simple, fun
simple.
multiplayer kind of like
Yeah.
competitive style game that's kind of like RPG mechanics and all this stuff. But the thing is, I think that idea from the get go, this is an ambitious kind of game for a first game. I think it
A
is.
little bit, yeah.
And I'm all right with that
Yeah.
because you'll figure out a lot more tackling a game like this.
Yeah.
It's very heavy on like number balancing and
Yeah, but a lot of that already feels pretty good. Like we already
yeah, that's what I'm
did that,
saying.
yeah.
Like I feel like we've made it so far. Like we're running into a lot of issues and it is ambitious and it is pretty difficult and maybe beyond what we were thinking
Yeah.
in the beginning, but that's all right because, just we can stick with it and I think we're getting close to having like some real tangible stuff and like
Oh
a
yeah.
more finished sort of game. Once especially once we start applying the artwork. Um this it's like I said, this card will really open the gateway to a lot of more finished looking components. Like
Yeah.
after this, the icons and like tokens and stuff, we'll be able to start doing those and those will not be difficult
We'll
at all.
crank those
We're
out, yeah.
we're starting with one of the hardest things to do
Yeah.
because this card, I don't know if people have really
They don't know where it's
if
at.
we've really even gotten into those some of the ideas behind the card. Like the card has varying it has like there are different variants of the card, like with
Yeah.
different containers on the card opened or shut depending on what's active on the card.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crazy there's more info on this card than I've seen in most other games, and Steven sent me a lot of references. So
Yeah. You're not wrong. It's
it's a but I think it's good. I think it's a good idea. I think we have it down, stripped down to its necessary components, and now it's just making the puzzle work, like
right.
figuring out the puzzle of how does this work. And we're getting closer with every new
Yeah.
like iteration of the card. So
Game design is a process. It's not a like a I don't know how to say that. It's not like you just make a game. Like you can have ideas for games, but until you start really digging in and like trying the game and then designing like the components in the game and getting everything to work and make sense, like it's a journey, guys. Making games is a journey. It's not and it's we're learning a ton as we go, and like everything we
yeah,
learn now is going to benefit us in the future for other stuff too. So um
I think it would. Well, another point
all
I don't
right, last
honestly
point.
know where I was going with it. But yeah, yeah. Another point the point I was trying to get to is
Yeah.
I think at the end of this whole thing, we're going to have a very cool thing that we've created.
Oh
Just
yeah.
a cool product, but I don't even look at it as a product. It's just like a cool work of art
It's
project that we've
yeah.
seen through to completion. It's going to be this nifty little box, dude. I'll always have a copy of
Yeah.
Foundry, like because it's like something that I've been a part of, and that's just cool on its own.
Yeah.
So Yeah,
I love the idea of just like having something tangible that we created. And like
yeah.
I think that'll be awesome. So
It's so rare that you end up, people work on stuff every day, but you don't always get to take something away from it.
yeah,
So, to prove like that I actually did something.
right.
Um,
If
so it's gonna
nothing,
be cool having a physical thing.
if we fail on Kickstarter, we'll print off like a
Yeah,
couple copies from like the game crafter and just still have good quality polished copies. So if
that would be
nothing
an
else,
interesting. Yeah,
if nothing else, we'll have it.
yeah, that'd be an interesting conversation to have one day on the podcast. Like, okay, what if the Kickstarter is a failure? Like
It's
what
very
would happen?
possible.
What would we do? And I think you're right. What we would probably end up doing is just it would be sort of an intrinsic value for us. We would just like
Yeah.
print off real games and have them. We can still sell them maybe. I don't really know what the
Yeah.
options are at that
Well, we
point,
can
but
also relaunch like if we fail on Kickstarter, we can figure out what didn't work, try to build more of a following, spend more time marketing the game, and then launch it, try to do it again.
and then maybe try again. Yeah.
People do that. It happens. People
Hmm.
fail, they don't hit their funding goals, whatever, and they do it again. So
Yeah.
anyway, that is all the time we have for this episode. Thanks again for tuning in and with your eyes or your ears. Either way, thanks for being here. If you want to keep up to date on what we're doing, keep listening to this podcast on all the places, as well as follow us on Instagram at Waffle Games, and go to our website, bitwafflegames.com, to sign up for our monthly newsletter and find a link to our Discord. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Thanks everyone. See you.
Bye.